Good day. Today, I will be presenting to you the Hospital Strategic Planning and Management for the University Health Service UP Los Baños. I am Tricia Irene T. Tamisin, the head of the Administrative Service of UHS UPLB. To manage your expectations, I will provide you with the background of the UHS UPLB, the patient satisfaction survey and its results, in the year 2023, the situational analysis and strategic plan. Let us proceed with the background of the UHS UPLB. The hospital started off as a clinic in 1914 where it primarily served UPLB students from the College of Agriculture and its faculty members. The current infrastructure is now what you can see on the screen, which was constructed in 1972. And then in 1995, it was declared by the Department of Health as a second level general hospital. Here are the mission, vision, and goals of the University Health Service UPLB. Its mission is that the UHS is committed to render a high standard of care and cost-effective interventions to the community through its competent healthcare workers, the improved facility, and compassionate leadership. Its vision, to become a hospital of choice for the UPLB community and an excellent center for comprehensive healthcare where patient safety and satisfaction are at the core of its service. And then its goal, the UHS is a secondary general hospital that will provide comprehensive health care primarily to the mandated UPLB constituents and secondarily to the people in the surrounding communities as it opens its doors to embrace the tenets of the Universal Healthcare Act. Here are some of the services and programs of the UHS UPLB. We have 24/7 ambulance and emergency room services, a 30-bed capacity for inpatient services, operating room services which can do minor, medium, and major surgeries, laboratory, radiology with X-ray and ultrasound, a heart station with ECG and 2D echo, pharmacy, dental clinic, outpatient consultation, which includes student welfare clinic with in-house psychiatrist, HIV clinic through an infectious disease specialist, diabetes education and wellness clinic, nutrition clinic, specialty clinics, and free annual medical examination for UPLB employees. Other services include referral to tertiary hospitals such as the Philippine General Hospital. And then for our operating room services, we also have the hearing screening, critical congenital heart disease newborn screening. And then we also have home care services for homebound elderly patients, which are mostly our retirees or our our former employees. We also have lactation management and family planning counseling. As for the catchment area, our primary constituents or primary patients are approximately 13,000 UPLB students and approximately 6,000 UPLB employees, including some of the families of UPLB students staying inside the campus or near the campus, and also the dependents of UPLB employees. By this, we mean the spouse of the employee, child or children of the employee, and the parents of the employee. Secondarily, we cater to the people of Los Baños, Laguna, as the UHS UPLB is the only government hospital in Los Baños. Also, we cater to other nearby municipalities such as Bay and Calauan in Laguna. As you can see here, the University Health Service is located in this area and the heart of the UPLB campus near the UPLB Human Resource Development Office. And we go as far as, or we cater as far as the population in another UP campus, which is the Open University here on this side, and up all the way up to here, which is part of the College of Agriculture and Food Science. And this is also part of the UPLB campus. So UPLB campus is a very big campus. So we also cater to the nearby communities here, and here, as well as on this side. So this is the majority um, of Los Baños. Now let's go on to the patient satisfaction survey for inpatients, which I used the 2023 result. Here is an example, the front page of the PSS for inpatients and the last page. So to sum up, it's quite a handful. So inpatients were asked, how was your experience with our services? From the admitting office up to the facilities. So admitting nurses, doctors, medtech, radtech, pharmacist, the dietary services, billing clerk, or the PhilHealth clerk, cashier, maintenance, and facilities. We had two respondents or two inpatients who voluntarily answered the PSS, and as a result, it was noted that the lowest scorer was the one concerning the facilities with a score of 4.43 out of 5. Relatively high still, but among all the areas of concern, it was the lowest. Now let's dig deep into the facilities. What were the questions? So patients were asked regarding the overall room rating, the comfort room, bed, linen, the hallway, the amenities included in the room, either an electric fan or an air conditioning unit. So they were asked, was it clean? Did you feel comfortable? How was the lighting? Did the facilities work well, or did you feel safe? Now showing you the cause and effect diagram, we can see here that um, primarily the identified problem was that the inpatient facility was poorly maintained, and here are the possible causes contributing to the problem here. So we have the people, environment, materials, methods, and equipment. As for the people, we have a very limited manpower, and of course they have different or varying behaviors that may hinder cooperation with each other. So we have a total of 5 utility aids um, that are distributed all throughout Monday to Sunday with different areas assigned to them. So we have the medical arts building, we have the main building, we have the offices, we have the inpatient rooms, and we have the a very large area for the grounds or the outside of the hospital. And of course, this is always present in any institution. There might be people who are resistant to change. Say, for example, during the pandemic, there were updates on how they should the best practices on there were updates on the best practices how we can combat or we can protect ourselves against the virus through through the help of our utility aids. So of course, at some point, there was resistance on those updates, but eventually they got the hang of it, and uh, it became a norm to them. And then another one, environment, of course, being situated at the foot of the Mount Makiling, the hospital is very susceptible to natural calamities and disasters. Another area of concern are the materials. So sometimes the raw materials that are needed for repair, like for example, plywood, they're unavailable to us even if the ceiling is already not in good status. So we cannot immediately replace the ceiling because we have unavailable materials. Another one is that sometimes we have the available resources. However, um, excuse me, we have the available resources which are sometimes not taken into account. And there comes a time that it will become expired. For example, paint. So we will buy paint, and then for a long time we will not be using the paint. By the time we already need to use the paint, it's gone bad already, and we cannot use it anymore because it's not in a good condition anymore. Now another area of concern is methods. So we have the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Planning and Development, with as who receive who receives all the job requests for the entire UPLB infrastructures. So all job requests are pulled in the OVCPD, and so we are queued along other infrastructures. So expectedly there are delays. Though sometimes when we ask, they can prioritize due to the exigency of the situation. And also there is a slow approval and process of bidding, procurement, and turnover of project, which is very rampant in government offices. Another one is equipment. So we have limited tools for repairs and troubleshooting. For example, we only have the basic tools, um, screwdrivers, meters, and the like. Also, outdated specifications of tools and equipment. So sometimes um, we cannot proceed with the repair because we do not have the right tools to do the repair. Hence, the job request to the OVCPD, which can cause further delays. And all these resulting to a poorly maintained inpatient facility. Right, so now we go to the SWOT analysis. So if for the internal factors, the strengths and the weaknesses. So firstly, for the strength, we already have an identified target market, as mentioned in the catchment area earlier. And as compared to the other hospitals in the area, which are all private hospitals, we are more affordable than these hospitals. And even though our services are more affordable, we can still offer a wide selection of services to our patients. And in fact, we have a newly renovated operating room complex, which is part of the renovation project of the university, partitioned in three phases. Just so happened that the phase two finished, or rather, prioritized over the phase one. Another one is that we have the full support of incumbent leaders, the deputy director and director, the vice chancellors, and of course the chancellor. Number six, we have skilled workers who can do repairs and fabricate materials. Now, I just want to go back to the phase two of renovation. I would just like to mention the phase one is actually the renovation for inpatient rooms, and then the phase three is the renovation of the outpatient department. Now, still on the internal factors, the weaknesses. The building in itself is a 52-year-old building with 52-year-old inpatient rooms with old doors, floorings, and fixtures, broken windows, and inefficient air conditioning units. And also with the renovation of the operating room complex, it's larger now. We've given up 6 rooms to accommodate this, so we've reduced inpatient rooms due to this renovation. Thus, we converted some of the solo rooms to a shared room to accommodate a total of 30 bed capacity. And also, another weakness for us is even though we have very skilled workers, we have limited manpower, which I've said we only have 5 utility aides as of now with heavy workload and different work expectations. Another weakness for us is the behavioral differences of these people and the resistance to change, should there be any, as we experienced in the COVID times. Another one is the unavailability of raw materials and inefficiency of its use resulting to wastage. So sometimes the raw materials are not available, hence we cannot proceed with the repair, or we have had the material but it went bad because we didn't use it for a long time, and by the time we already needed it, it's gone bad already, and so it's not usable anymore. Another weakness for us is that we have limited and outdated tools for repairs and troubleshooting, right? So we end up asking for help for the OVCPD for repairs. Now for the external factors, the opportunities and threats. First, the public-private partnerships. So here are the opportunities. Number one is public-private partnerships. Here in the university or specifically in the UHS, it is very common for student organizations or alumni associations to um, create a project, and the UHS is one of the many common recipients of these projects. So we have this we have this to take advantage of to help mitigate weaknesses and threats in the future. We also have the implementation of the universal healthcare now, strengthening the PhilHealth. We also have the MAIP, which can provide additional medical or financial assistance to our patients in complement to the PhilHealth subsidy. Another one, other financial assistance from eHope, which is specifically designed or offered to UP employees. So up to 120,000 pesos of medical assistance for UP employees. Another one is financial assistance from the Municipal Social Welfare Development and local government officials. So we receive these types of financial assistances as well for our patients. Another opportunity that we can take advantage of is the increasing demand for inpatient services, especially now that we have reopened our operating room after 2 years of renovation. So people are slowly coming back in. So we also have free trainings from the DOH and the DOH Academy, which our workers can take advantage of. And of course, the renovation plan for phase one, which actually includes the inpatient rooms. And then for the threats, of course, natural calamities and disasters, as mentioned in the cause and effect diagram, we are susceptible to disasters due to the hospital's geographical location. Also, a threat to us is the change in government leadership, changes in priorities, of course, the election ban, which may further slow down the turnover of projects, release of funds, and many more in the government sector. So, that being said, uh, even without the election ban, the procurement process and the turnover of projects in the government sector are relatively slow. And also, as mentioned, the university, the OVCPD, uh, with its office, under it is the University Planning and Maintenance Office, or the UPMO, um, tends to have results to have a slow response to job requests because all job requests of the entire university are funneled into UPMO. So as a result, there is a slow response to these job requests. Now, this is a handful to those matrix, but I would just like to focus on these areas. So first, um, what we can do now is to achieve our goals is one, to leverage on affordability and wide selection of services, including the newly renovated operating room complex, to maximize the use of PhilHealth, MAIP, eHope, and other financial assistance to patients on increasing demand for inpatient services to increase, therefore, the hospital revenues. Also, we can leverage an identified market to strengthen public-private partnerships who may share or who may have the same population as their target beneficiaries. So, of course, if we align with them, they will most likely choose us to be their beneficiary or to donate their project too. Another one is to further equip employees by utilizing free DOH trainings and DOH Academy. And lastly, we can strengthen relationships of internal leaders with external leaders to push through with the phase one renovations. All right, when I say internal leaders, these are our leaders from the university. Of course, the deputy, the director, vice chancellors, and the chancellor. And when I say external leaders, so um, here the funding is actually in DBM. So the leaders or the management in the DBM. So we might have to connect with the DBM through the help of the university heads. All right, now let's go to weakness opportunity. All right, so now here, number one, we utilize public-private partnerships to support inpatient room renovations with old doors, floorings, and fixtures, broken windows, and inefficient air conditioning units, similar to what I've mentioned earlier. So if we find a common denominator, it will be much easier to proceed with the partnership. And also, as mentioned um, earlier as well, we can utilize the free training materials for continuous staff development despite the limited manpower requiring multiple tasks. So we build and we build and we build and we invest on these people who are very reliable. All right, let's proceed to the strengths and threats. To combat the threats with the strengths, we leverage on affordability and wide selection of services, including the newly renovated operating room complex to increase hospital revenues and make room for allocation on minor renovations while we wait for the release of budget for phase one. Alright, so in here we are targeting um, minor renovations as phase one might take some time to happen. Another way to mitigate the threats through the strengths is to request for assistance and endorsement of the incumbent leaders to expedite the release of budget for phase one. And then lastly, address troubleshooting by in-house employees to mitigate the effects of slow response from UPMO. As mentioned earlier, one of the strategies that we can do is to invest on these people to equip them further so that in here to combat the threat with the strength, um, our in-house employees can do the repairs and troubleshooting by themselves. Let's go now to, for me, is the hardest part to mitigate because we have the weaknesses and the threats combined with the threats. So I've only identified one here, which we are already doing, by the way. So we converted the solo room to shared rooms to compensate for the decreased number of inpatient rooms to accommodate the same number of patients, which is a 30 bed capacity, and continue accepting patients despite the uncertainty of the release of the budget for phase one. Alright, so that's it for my TOAST matrix. Now let's proceed to the strategy. First strategy is to increase hospital revenues as proof of relevance of the hospital to the community and receive continued support from the government and the institution itself. Institution meaning the university. Program here is to leverage on the affordability and wide selection of services, including the newly renovated ORC to maximize the use of PhilHealth, MAIP, eHope, and other financial assistance to patients, on increasing demand for inpatient services to increase hospital revenues. Activities included here are active promotion of services offered by the hospital through its Facebook page, which can be done by Public Information Associate. So we have three PIAs in the UHS, and also we need to ensure completeness and accuracy of PhilHealth claims so that it will equate to PhilHealth payment and prevent return to hospital and denied claims. So in here, the human resource responsible are the PhilHealth officer and quality assurance nurse to make sure that everything is complete and everything is going smoothly. And then third, we implement the revised form for promissory notes to facilitate a clear mode of payment for hospital arrears. Of course, promissory notes are unavoidable in this situation. We do offer this for those who cannot afford to pay. But of course, to facilitate the best interest of both parties, we also need to set clear a clear instruction or the commit we have to get the commitment of the guarantor of the patient in this specific mode of payment so that it's a win-win for everyone. So here we have the director on board, the deputy director, administrative officer, the billing officer, and of course the internal control audit of the UPLB to make sure that everything is going that to make sure that the best interest of the client and the university is kept at a balance. And then number four is to assist qualified patients to satisfy the requirements for the different financial assistances available to them through the hospital, which can be MAIP, which can be PhilHealth, which can be eHope. So whichever they qualify into. So we have here the billing officer, the PhilHealth officer, and of course a social worker. Timeline for this, I've indicated here 1 year to um, see the effect, but actually uh, this is a good practice. So even if I've indicated here 1 year, this would be applicable perpetually. No. And the success indicator I've put in here is that an increase of 25% in hospital revenues, which by the way we have already achieved for this year. So I strongly believe that we can do this again for the next year. Okay. Now, strategy two is to continuously equip the limited manpower of the hospital. We have to further equip our employees by utilizing free DOH trainings and DOH Academy. First step for this is to create DOH Academy account per staff, or per staff I mean our utility aides. So the responsible individuals here are our utility aides with the assistance of our senior ICT associate. And of course, they have to finish at least one module. They have to finish one module in the DOH Academy or attend any relevant training within 6 months, or in short, one IPCR rating period. Again, the utility aid is included here, the senior ICT associate to provide assistance to the utility aid and the supervisors to monitor and motivate the employee. And then lastly, to reflect the training updates as best practices in the individual performance commitment and review, or the IPCR, of the individual staff as agreed upon with the supervisor. Timeline for here is 1 year, so 2 grading periods. Success indicator is that each staff to have attended one relevant training and to achieve an adjectival rating of satisfactory in the IPCR. Satisfactory meaning achieving the bare minimum output for their work description. Strategy number three is to secure PPP and initiate Adopt a Room project. So we can utilize the public-private partnerships to support inpatient room renovations with old doors, floorings, and fixtures, broken windows, and inefficient air conditioning units. So in here, our medical director can tap an organization or donor for the project, and then the director and private partners can meet so that we can present the data where the private partner can see where assistance is mostly needed by the hospital and its target population or beneficiaries. This is where we find the common denominator and establish the partnership. And then last part of this is the actual turnover of the renovated room to the hospital from the private partner to the director. Timeline here is 1 year. Success indicator would be renovation of one room under Adopt a Room project. Currently, we actually have um, 3 inpatient rooms adopted by several PPPs. All right, strategy number 4 is to increase hospital revenues to increase budget allocation for the succeeding fiscal year. So we can leverage again on the affordability and wide selection of services, including the newly renovated ORC, to increase hospital revenues and make room for allocation on minor renovations while waiting for the release of budget for phase 1. So this is very similar to strategy 1. So there's promotion of services, completeness of efficiency in the PhilHealth claims, implementation of the new promissory notes to facilitate um, timely payment of hospital arrears. The only difference is that we need to submit on time the report of collections to the budget management office so that they can monitor and see that we are actually hitting our targets or surpassing our targets so that we can afford um, to have more budget for the next fiscal year. So in this part, the people responsible are the following. So cashier, administrative officer, the director, and of course the budget management officer, the BMO. Timeline for here is 1 fiscal year. The hospital revenues for 2025. Success indicator is that is the BMO's approval to include in the 2026 fiscal year project procurement management plan or PPMP the materials needed for minor renovations of inpatient rooms. I think this is the last strategy for me. So strategy number 5 is to negotiate with the incumbent leaders to assist the management in looking into the status of the release of budget for phase 1. So we need to request for assistance relentlessly and endorsement of the incumbent leaders to expedite the release of budget for phase 1. So we, the University Health Service, the director, would have to meet with the Vice Chancellor for Community Affairs, Vice Chancellor for Planning and Development, and the Chancellor to discuss the status of Phase 1. And after this, we can elevate further to the level of the UP President to come up with a plan on how to expedite the release of funds for Phase 1. Similar to what happened to the Phase 2 through the help of the UP President then, we were able to expedite within 1 year for the project to be started at the university level. So in 1 year of within 1 year, after 1 year of negotiation, um, the budget was released and we were able to start procuring for the materials that we will need for the renovation. So similar here, I've also included a timeline of 1 year as we have experienced in phase 2. Oh, and last activity here is, of course, we have to be consistent, follow up meetings to monitor the movement of initiated efforts together with the director, the vice chancellors, the chancellor, and the president. Success indicator is that we start the procurement process for phase 1 in a year's time. So, conclusion. Facilities and amenities are some of the vital contributors to the overall experience satisfaction of our patients. Although often neglected after the initial build, it is important to maintain and keep abreast with the innovations and improvements in terms of infrastructure. Renovations and upkeep of infrastructures are costly. Also, bidding and procurement process in the government sector cause much delays in the actual process. Hence, the institution must be creative and resourceful in finding alternatives while waiting for the allocated budget. Lastly, as reflected in the hospital's mission and vision, the result of the PSS in 2023 should not be disregarded. Strategic planning will be of great help in addressing this concern to be aligned with the hospital's mission, a cost-effective intervention and its improved facility, and to achieve its vision, patient safety and satisfaction, and improve the overall satisfaction of its patients. Here are my references, and thank you very much for listening to my presentation.